You're watching Extras from the Extension on Eagle Community Television. This show is brought to you by Carico Implement.
Hi, this is Linda Beech, the Ellis County Extension Agent for Family and Consumer Sciences, and this is Extras from Extension on Eagle Community TV. September is designated as National Disaster Preparedness Month. And while the folks on the East Coast are maybe getting prepared for the beginning of hurricane season in September, here in the Midwest, we've made it through the worst of our severe weather, and now we get a bit of a breather to prepare ahead, to relax after the passing storm system. I think it's a great time to put a little thought, maybe some planning, a bit of effort into being prepared so that when severe weather season hits Kansas, you and your family will be ready. I've got a couple of things with me today that I want to talk about in regard to emergency preparedness. And we're going to start with the first one here. It's the easiest to think about, fairly easy to put together. But I think that you'll find that of the two examples I want to share, this one may really in actuality be the less important of the two. You can see that I've got my big plastic tote tub propped up here so that you'll be able to see what's inside my family disaster kit. I keep this in the basement in the area where we have all agreed we'll go to weather out a tornado or a severe storm. And I want to just take a look at some of the things that are inside. Well, the first thing I'm going to pull off the top is a pair of old tennis shoes that are important to have with this kit. As a matter of fact, it's important to have a pair of shoes for every member of the family. And that's because if your house is destroyed while you're in your safe area in the basement, you need to make sure that you have shoes to get through the rubble. Now, I say that because it's a real life example. My extension colleague in Kiowa County lives in Greensburg, and she did lose her home in the Greensburg tornado several years ago. She made a run for the basement barefooted, and her house was completely destroyed. So she had to come up out of the basement through all that rubble in bare feet. Just make sure you've got a pair of shoes for every member of the family in your safe area. In my kit, I've also got a whole assortment of things. I've got lanterns, battery operated. I've got the little small touch lights that can go in various parts of the house so that we have some light if the power's out. I've got a first aid kit full of various things. I've got a little bit of canned food in the bottom that I think you probably can't see. Additionally, I've got somewhere, oh here it is, I've got a couple of days worth of medication for anybody in my family that needs medicine. So if you've got folks who need regular prescriptions, you might want to make sure you've got 2 or 3 days worth of medications on hand. I've got some necessary items. I've got paper plates, plastic silverware. I've got cups. Even have a bit of other necessary items. And I've got a jug of water. I've put the water in the kit to remind me to talk about the fact that you probably need more than 1 gallon of water in this emergency kit. It's better to have a bit of drinking water on hand for each member of the family in your storm shelter area. I've also got a fire extinguisher. I've got a can opener for all that canned goods. And one thing clear in the bottom that I want to mention is that I've got a whistle as well. And this is to save your voice. If you're buried under a bunch of rubble and you need for rescuers to hear you, you don't have to just continue to shout and shout until you have no voice and you can't be heard. Instead, you've got a whistle that can make that noise for you. So make sure you've got that. It's just an inexpensive plastic whistle that you can add to your kit as well. Now, these items and more that might be in this kit are listed on a handout that we have available here at the County Extension Office. Items that you might need for personal care, for first aid, for safety, for household, just basic household supplies, cleanup. I've got hand sanitizer in here, some of those sorts of things. And we can help you get a kit like this put together. One one stop at your favorite grocery or household store, and you'll be able to put a kit like this together. Keep that where you might shelter from a storm. Now, the other kit I want to show you is much smaller, much more portable, and this is what in our family we call our grab-and-go kit. And it's something that, although it's smaller, may take a little longer to compile, and that's why I really want to mention and suggest that you get started putting together your family emergency set of documents, okay? What I've done is compile in a 3-ring binder various kinds of financial and family record information that we might need if our house is destroyed. In the Greensburg example, the bank was destroyed, the local insurance office was destroyed. So you may need to have some of the information about your account numbers, your policy numbers, and not rely on your local business person to provide those for you. So in my kit, I've got my bank statement, just one copy of the front page of one of those that shows the phone numbers for the bank, any home office that's involved, and also the account number. I've got a copy of our insurance page. I've got a copy of our prescriptions. Just a copy of those on the copier so that if we need to go and have prescriptions refilled, we've got that information with us and we don't have to rely on a doctor's office to do that. We've even got glasses prescriptions as well. Don't forget those. I've got my children's immunization records in here, and even though they're both in college, they seem to turn to me to need those now and then. So I've got several of those. Then I also have a copy of the front page of our will for each of my husband and I, for our durable power of attorney, our durable power of attorney for healthcare decisions, living will, some of those kinds of information in case there's a serious injury in our family if a disaster happens. You may want to have a copy of tax returns to keep track of that financial information. I've got a copy of the page of important phone numbers from our home phone book. It includes relatives out of town that will need to know that we're all right after a storm. I've even got a copy of all of our passwords for all those computer accounts that we have so that we'll know how to get back into those. Then I took everything out of my wallet and I laid it on a copier so that I'd have the number, the policy information, the customer service contact information on that, and I just put that together. Then you'll want to have some pages showing household inventory, things that you want to keep track of. I happen to have a detailed list of my husband's library. It's very extensive, the number of books that he's got. But I also then went through with a digital camera and I took pictures of every room and every part of my house. I printed the tiny contact sheets so I could remember what I had pictures of and could perhaps go back and easily retrace a number. But the original digital card and the whole file of pictures are saved on a second flash drive. I have those in a safe deposit box. I've also got a set that my husband and I each have in the flash drive that we keep with us. So some of these kinds of things will help to keep us organized, and when we have an insurance claim that we have to justify, we'll have that information. I've gone through, and you'll see it's in my scratchy handwriting so far. I've also got model numbers and serial numbers and such from the large appliances and electronics in our home. And eventually I need to get those typed up, but you can see I don't even have that done yet, but I've got the information. I've also got a stash, a little bit of money, some cash to have on hand if I need it in case of an emergency. And in the bottom of my grab-and-go kit, I've got a roll of quarters for the laundromat, for a vending machine. Used to be for a telephone, but it's not that way anymore necessarily. But I've got a roll of quarters as well. Now I put all of these, this notebook with all this information in a zippered, weatherproof container. And this is intended to go with me when a disaster strikes. If I'm headed to my basement to shelter in place, I know to grab this and take it downstairs with me. If I need to evacuate my home for some reason, that train explosion in Hayes a few months ago is an example of that. I have the information ready to go. It's stored in a place in my home where everybody knows that this is one thing we take with us if we need to make a run for it. Put my handbag and my husband's wallet together with that, and we've got a good start on making sure that our family documents and records will be available to us if the rest of our home is destroyed. Now, I'd like to encourage you to get yourself and your family prepared for disaster. Certainly, it's worth preparing a disaster kit like I showed you earlier, but even more important for you to take a household inventory, to review your insurance records, to make sure that you've got copies of those important documents available to you to prepare for disaster. On September 10th, over the noon hour, we'll host a program called Get Financially Prepared, Taking Steps Ahead of Disaster. And we'll give you some ideas on how to do that. If you can join us for that, that's great. Just give us a call and we'll save you a spot. If you're not able to join us for that program, we do have this information available on paper here at the Ellis County Extension Office. It's also online at the K-State Research and Extension statewide website. Well, September is National Disaster Preparedness Month. And in Kansas, we've learned to look at disaster with kind of a laissez-faire attitude. Oh, I've lived here forever. I've never been hit by a tornado. But you know, just that one time may be enough to completely change the way you prepare for yourself and your family. So let's learn from our colleagues in Extension, our friends in Oklahoma in that disastrous tornado earlier this summer, and let's take the steps that we need to prepare our family to survive a few days in case our home is destroyed and to rebuild our lives if we've lost all of our important belongings. Thanks for joining me. I'm Linda Beech, the Ellis County Extension Agent for Family and Consumer Sciences, and this has been Extras from Extension on Eagle Community TV.
You're watching Extras from the Extension on Eagle Community Television. This show is brought to you by Carico Implement.
When you're working around the yard this year, your work will be easier if you make a visit to Carico Implement. They make your chores easier with tractors, lawnmowers, trimmers, generators, and all the other special tools. When working in the yard, you'll also want to look your best, and you can when you dress with John Deere clothes. And if the kids need toys, they can take care of that too. Carico Implement, 300 West 48th Street, just north of Walmart in Hayes.